Hexagons in nature. Nature loves hexagon. A hexagon has 6 angles specifically and 6 radius. Hexagons, in particular, are often seen in nature like beehives are the common example, but definitely not the only one example. A hexagon is the shape that best fills a plane with equal size units and leaves no wasted space. Hexagonal packing also minimizes the perimeter for a given area because of its 120-degree angles. This is the example of beehives. As we can see, that hexagonal shape are everywhere like in a car, motor, and other transport vehicle who is commonly used shape for nuts and bolts. Because of its unique features, the tool edge find it much easier to grip the hexagonal edge bolts. In the late 19th century, Belgian physicist Joseph Plateau calculated that junction of 120 degree are also the most mechanically stable arrangement, where the forces on the films are all in balance. That is why bubble wrap form hexagonal pattern. Not only it minimize the perimeter, the pole of tension, its direction is most mechanically stable. That is why it is essentially used because of its 120-degree angles, which is also minimizes the perimeter for a given area. Nonetheless, shape that best fills a plane with equal size units and leaves no wasted space and etc.
So this day, we will answer the 3 guide question about the assigned video. Number 1, what math concept is fully discussed in your assigned video? Fully discussed on assigned video are the Fibonacci sequence and about numbers of golden ratio.
It's all about numbers, golden ratio P.
The golden ratio and Fibonacci in music are the topics covered in our assigned video. In the world of music, the ratio and Fibonacci sequence can be used.
The video tackled about Fibonacci sequence and golden ratio. Golden ratio, also known as the math concept that were discussed in the video.
Concept of math is about pi and how it was related to the universe and conceptually applied most of the things that we see around.
So, the concept that fully discussed in our assigned video is all about the golden ratio and Fibonacci in music. Where are the golden ratio and Fibonacci can be used in music world?
It is about golden ratio, which means the irrational number of pi. So pi doesn't end for its looking for a golden proportions where we could have or get the same, equal, and visual to original pattern.
A video is all about the golden ratio and Fibonacci in music. The golden ratio is the irrational number pi. Some say the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequence are evident are music strings, percussion, and celesta by Hungarian Bela Bartok. Since the beginning of pi, also known as the golden ratio, has inspired the world around us.
The concept that fully discussed on our assigned video is the golden ratio and Fibonacci in the field of music.
This is a math idea I discussed while viewing the golden ratio video, or the numerical ratios that approach the golden ratio's value. The higher the Fibonacci number, the more closely they resemble 1.618. Furthermore, it is all about timing. You can either add to the number or utilize the golden ratio P or 1.618.
So what math concept is discussed in your assigned video? So that was Fibonacci and the golden ratio. So the famous sequence of famous Fibonacci sequence has captivated mathematicians, artists, designers, and scientists for centuries. It is also known as the golden ratio. Its unique and astounding functionality in nature provides its importance as the fundamental characteristics of the nature or universe.
Only discussed of the video is all about the golden ratio. The golden ratio is the irrational number pi. We see it everywhere in the world around us, but we did not know that we can also hear it from our favorite music. For example, from the notes and chords to phrasing and dynamics, we can all feel that we were meant to go together.
The golden ratio is a unique mathematical relationship and easy to spot the natural world. The golden ratio is a unique mathematical relationship. Two numbers are in the golden ratio. If the ratio of some of the numbers A, B divided by the larger number A is equal to the ratio of the larger number divided by the smaller larger A and B. The golden ratio is about 1.618 and represented by the Greek letter pi. The golden ratio is the best approximated by famous Fibonacci numbers. Fibonacci numbers are a never-ending sequence starting with 0 and 1 and continuing by adding the previous two numbers. The next number in the Fibonacci sequence is, for instance, are 1, 2, 3, and 5. The mathematical relationship for the ratio of the sum of the numbers A, B divided by the larger number A is equals to the ratio of the larger number divided by the smaller number A, B. Fibonacci concept plays a big part in Western harmony and musical scales. An octave on a piano consists 13 notes, 8 white keys, and 5 are black keys.
It is about the number of petals in a flower consistent follows the Fibonacci sequence. Examples. There are examples of the number in Fibonacci sequence: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55.
Golden ratio is irrational numbers of p. 4 doesn't end, and golden ratio define the divine proportion. Example: golden rectangle, music lyrics, music of strings, percussion, and Celesta by Bela Bantok, lyric of Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure, lyrics of Drake, In My Feelings.
The golden ratio is one of the most well-known irrational numbers. The distance between the navel and the floor, for example, and the distance between the top of the head and the navel are examples of golden ratios.
Thus that every corner in this world has an existence pattern or sentiment sequence. For example, counting petals on a flower. By doing it, you can make a simple sequence like Fibonacci sequence and see a golden ratio.
It is about the golden ratio that can be found everywhere. For example, the plants seem it was like in uniform as the universe. Also, it was implied to the music that drives it more interesting.
So, the golden ratio represented by the number 1.618 or the Greek letter for pi occurs when the summation of two quantities is equal to the ratio of the quantity as a whole. It contains many algebraic and geometric properties that have always attracted the interest of many scholars in remote and recent times. The golden ratio is so much present in the physical reality to define the whole universe. It can be considered, for good reasons, the mathematical representation of life. due to this peculiarity. So, cite few more real-world cases or examples that would show the concept. So, example of this is the animal bodies. Even our bodies exhibit proportions that are consistent with Fibonacci numbers. For example, the measurement from the navel to the floor and the top of the head to the navel is the golden ratio.
So my answer is, after they call it golden ratio, it changed into the divine proportions, which bring us to something called Fibonacci sequence, where numbers are played in a pattern form to know that there is importance on the values of each sides. Guess what? It is like having a work of structures where before it is established, it should be fully made in pattern. Then, equal sides. Another thing is music, where notes are numbered for a perfect melody and flavor of rhythm. Also, Fibonacci sequence is a great form of numbers on how we will use it, and the best example of it is the spiral.
This concept is all about the golden ratio and Fibonacci in music. For example, the pi. Instead of saying 1.61803398871 and so on, and also the Fibonacci sequence example, you can sum the first number to second number and so on, like 0 plus 1 equals 1, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3, 2 plus 3 equals 5, 3 plus 5 equals 8, 5 plus 8 equals 13, and that's the Fibonacci sequence. When sequences are higher and the ratio between the numbers get closer and closer to 1.61845.
The golden ratio is one of the most famous irrational numbers. For example, the measurement from the navel to the floor and the top of the head to the navel is the golden ratio.
Ratios and proportions are employed on a regular basis in the actual world. For example, company dealing with money or business might have a profit per sale of a given product ratio of 10.52 pesos, implying that the company make 10 pesos on each sale.
Fibonacci used the arithmetic series to illustrate a problem based on a pair of breeding rabbits. In short, the pattern is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on to infinity. The sequence is always adding the last two numbers to get the next number. This has been charted out in the geometrical terms and found to have a shell pattern. These dimensions are found everywhere if you know where to look.
The golden ratio represented by the numbers 1.618. It contains many algebraic and geometric properties that have always attracted the interest of many scholars in the recent time. The example that would show the concept are animal bodies exhibit similar tendencies, including dolphins. The measurement from the navel to the floor and the top of the head to the navel is the golden ratio.
It is the ratio of a line segment cut into the two pieces of different lengths, such the ratio of the whole segment to the longer segment is equal to the ratio of the longer segment to the shorter segment. One of the example, flower petals and seed heads. These are two also known as the golden ratio.
This mathematical truth certainties, which is the golden ratio, is a mathematical ratio that found most often in our nature. that mathematics claim to provide knowledge that is known with certainty also produces uncertainties.
Insight about mathematical thoughts uncertainties that mathematics claim to provide knowledge that is known or certainly also produce uncertainties. Certainly strongest mood positive belief of commitment. Certainly also is an attribution the object of knowledge themselves to make it understandable to all.
The golden ratio can aid in the creation of a composition that draws the listener's attention to the important elements of the music.
Insights about mathematical truth is it is not just a number, but it has a big role on the universe, where the visible and audible from the past to present.
I find it very interesting as I try to see if it was real. I look at some pictures and things around the house like plants, hearing music, and there was the ratio that this video was telling. I could see that everything was here with purpose and that there was no accident it happened. There are things that's unexplainable that happen, but when you look it deeper, it really makes sense.
I think the golden ratio can be applied not only to the music but to the arts, thought forms, word forms, automotive design, architecture, engineering, and computer code. It is a key to many things, and that's all we need to understand. We'll never figure it out in its entirely because it is an infinite formula.
For me, it is somehow challenging but really makes sense because Fibonacci sequence guaranteed the reality equation, problems, and solutions. Like music, it is not just played, but further needs patterns that also closer to nature. Another example is a flower petal, where counting of each is a method to do. Same with music, right? This just simply means gravitate towards something like the golden ratio. I've also thought about Bela Bartok, where in his music, he lands in number 55 of Fibonacci, where it is a good thing because it is the exact for a golden ratio. Music theorists also call it a pi moment, where you take the length of the song and then multiply it by 0.618, the inverse of pi. Furthermore, music in a pattern using numbers of Fibonacci and showing like a spiral is a great climax for a song.
My insight this topic. Since the beginning of time, pi, also known as the golden ratio, has inspired the world around us. Have you ever noticed how some species of music just seem to make sense? From the notes, land charts to the phrasing and dynamics, they can all feel like they were meant to go together. Many people believe this is not a coincidence, but the golden ratio in action. Host Mari and LA explore this phenomenon and create their own composition inspired by golden ratio.
Golden ratio can help create a composition that will draw the eyes important elements of the photo.
I've noticed that applying mathematical concept to things in the real world is very significant, such as the golden ratio on Fibonacci, which demonstrates how valuable and true mathematics is through the piano regarding the limitation of notes in Fibonacci sequence number. In fact, you make an excellent point about limiting being beneficial when attempting to be creative.
So I'll cite one example. The Fibonacci sequence can be seen in the way three branches form or split. A main trunk will grow until it produces a branch, which creates 2 growth points. Then, one of the stems branches into 2, while the other one lies dormant. This pattern of branching is repeated for each of the new stems. A good example is the sneezewort. This is a plant, and root systems and even algae exhibit this pattern. So my insight is, I now realize that the Fibonacci sequence is not just a made up of geometric pattern, but it is the blueprint for all art, designs, architectures, and many other creative works in this world or universe. It's about understanding how everything is fractal reality within ourselves, to our world, and out to the endless sea of space. It is through how all things grow, spread, and evolve, the movement of energy, blood, air, clouds, storms, and water.
We can find the golden ratio when we divide a line into 2 parts, and the longer part A divided by the smaller part B, which both equal 1.618. If you lay the square over the rectangle, the relationship between the 2 shapes will give on the golden ratio.
The golden ratio is a special number that approximately equals 1.168. The ratio itself comes from the Fibonacci sequence, a naturally occurring sequence of the number that can be found anywhere. The number of leaves on a tree to the shape of a seashells. The Fibonacci sequence is the sum of 2 numbers before it. It goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on.